So I guess Shohei Ohtani and Ippei are cool now?
You are Locked On MLB. Your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans. Welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all the Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. I've been part of the Locked On Podcast Network since, 2019. I am now beginning my sixth season here at the Locked On Podcast Network. I've been baseball podcasting for well over a decade now. I've done a bunch of other stuff along the way, but this is what I really, really love doing. And for those of you who are brand new, climb on board, float down the River Sully, and be part of this as we're going to be talking about baseball all year long. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or on Instagram. You can follow me. I'm your pal Sully at Sully Baseball on Twitter, or whatever it's called now, Sully Baseball Podcast and Instagram. And if you're listening to us and you want to put something down on the social media, make sure to click that link where you can call us an Everyday Sully as a hashtag. By the way, this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/lockedon MLB and use all lowercase and Locked On MLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Well, we just did a ad read about a gambling site, so why not talk about the Otani scandal maybe one last time? Here's the deal. The best thing that could have happened to Rob Manfred and to Shohei Ohtani and company were two things: the season beginning and the A's moving, because that just obliterated Shohei Ohtani's story and the Ippei story, which is what it really is, from the news. And one of the reasons why it was such a big thing was that there were no games going on. They played those two games out in Seoul, and instead of it being a great intro to the game, it became this story to bust out, and there was nothing else to talk about, and the story got weird. As I pointed out, they changed the story. The crisis management team put out one story, then they put out another story that contradicted the first one. I had all sorts of people saying, "No, they only gave one story." That's factually false, and it was weird and suspicious and bizarre. And now here it is. The story broke. Was it 20 some odd days ago? And the story that they're sticking with is that the interpreter, Ippei Mizuhara, stole 4 point something million tomatoes from Shohei Ohtani, somehow wired it from his account and to a betting what is it called, a bookie, and Shohei came on international television to say that he's a liar, he stole, and he was dishonest, opening himself from all sorts of liable in case those charges turn out to be untrue. And here we are 20-something days later, and Ippei Mizuhara has not been charged with anything. He hasn't been. He's nothing as it. He's not been arrested. No one's filed any charges. You would think this would be easy to say, "Hey, you did this, and here's that." At least, don't the police say, "Do you want to press charges on this man?" Yes, we want to press charges on this man. But hasn't really happened, has it? And seeing that no part of this story points to Shohei gambling, no parts of this showing him that Shohei was gambling on baseball, then in some ways it becomes a borderline irrelevant story at this point. And if they're hoping it just goes away because the first story was the true one, the one where he was covering his buddy's debts and wiring it to a illegal gambling site, if that one, which is a story that always made more sense, turned out to be true, then the sooner this goes away and floats away, the better it is for everybody, including me, because I'd rather be talking about the games. So essentially, at this point, if Shohei is cool with it and cool with Ippei, and everyone's just waiting for it to drift away, and when we're not looking or when something else happens, he gets a light tap on the wrist, apparently that seems to be what's happening. But it doesn't look like, yes, I know Rob Manfred said something like, oh, they're doing investigation or something like that, and the feds are doing some investigation, something like that. The feds have bigger fish to fry, and baseball wants us to go away. And Shohei Ohtani is a multi-million-dollar industry unto himself. So this is probably the last time I'm ever going to talk about this topic, but I just thought it was interesting that the A's moving, the start of the season happened, and all of a sudden, there's no more talk about this, and Ippei still has not been charged. Anyway, let's talk about fun things like Major League Baseball. Oh, and by the way, the trivia question I asked the other day, which was who is the last remaining member of the Philadelphia A's, our last living Philadelphia A. A couple of people got it right. John Murphy Jr. and Scott Horstmeyer got it right. The answer is Bobby Shantz. Bobby Shantz, who was a big star for the Philadelphia A's, later went to the Yankees, played on the Philadelphia A's, was managed by Connie Mack, and he's still with us. He's in his late 90s, but he's still with us. And if you're watching us, how you doing, Bobby Shantz? Hey, how you doing right now? We got to give credit due to some teams. A bunch of games are going on right now. I am recording this on Sunday morning here in Los Angeles County as ball games are just getting started. This is why I can't move back to the East Coast, because it's not yet noon and some of the games are already in the sixth inning. That's a glorious thing. One game is already in the sixth inning. The Pirates are losing at this point. It would not stun me to see the Pirates come back. By the way, on Saturday, there were some wild comebacks of games left and right. I mean, you saw the Diamondbacks jump out to a huge lead against the Braves and then find a way to blow it. And the Rays came back against the Rocks. Well, a team that seems to be finding ways to win are the Pittsburgh Pirates. And even if they lose today, they'll have won 7 of their first 10 games. Again, it's early April. Our taxes aren't due yet, but I can't stress this enough. It is important for teams who have questionable expectations to get out of the gate fast. If they get out of the gate fast, then they could build a little bit of confidence. And it's the way that the Pirates are winning, the way that they're coming back, the way that they're having great defense, the way that, like on Saturday, they wiggled out of tons of trouble and wound up winning that game in extra innings. It's the fact that they're getting contributions up and down the lineup. All right, Brian Reynolds is not off to the best of start, but he's driving in a ton of runs. The fact that Cruz and Cabrian Hayes are showing that, hey, maybe they kind of are the stars that we think they are. And they're getting contributions from veterans like Rowdy Tellez and Connor Joe. It's that sometimes you get that combination of star young players and people are like, hey, let's just get something started here. And Giant fans who were all waiting for Joey Bart to be the next great catcher, and he was drafted to be Buster Posey's heir. It didn't work out that way. The Giants got rid of him, and Joey Bart's first game with the Pirates hits a home run, gets another hit, and who knows? Maybe this is that kind of team that are filled with players looking for that next chance, looking to show that they can prove themselves. And they're also doing it with they're getting good pitching. Oddly, Mitch Keller has not been the big star, but they've got very good pitching up and down. And their bullpen, I love it when bullpens don't fall for the tyranny of the save. In other words, use the best pitcher only in save situations. Right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different pitchers have saves. They've only played 10 games. They've already had 5 different pitchers have recorded a save, which is something I love because Derek Shelton, the manager, is basically using the best reliever for each particular situation. You don't go to the same guy day in and day out unless you've got a Mariano or someone who's on a big role like Koji Uehara was in 2013. Things could fall apart. The Pirates got off to a great start last year, but you're winning the games they're supposed to win and winning them well. You know what? You got to salute them. We come back from a quick break. We're going to salute another team that was delivered a terrible blow. And guess what they did? They turned it around. And I don't know, are kind of, sort of showing us all a little something. Hey, are you a fan of daily fantasy sports? Well, you need to go to Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more than or less than on 2 or more player stats, and you watch the winnings roll in. Yet the regular season has begun in baseball, and we're starting to see some cool stats running up. Don't miss out your chance to get your favorite players with a diamond with your Prize Picks entries, whether it's strikeouts, RBI, first inning runs. Take your pick in the more than or less than from Prize Picks today. And by the way, Prize Picks now offers Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits into your account for this baseball season. Now, let's see what we got. I got it right here. We got my app. I'm going more than for O'Neal Cruz. And, I have a feeling about Eugenio Suarez. I'm going to go more than for him as well. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's right. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more. Pick less. Do you know what? It's that easy. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all the shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you to bring the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV's channel app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now admit it. When Gerrit Cole went down for his injury, you thought the Yankees were hosed. I know I did. And I thought the Yankees were an okay team and we're probably going to do well with Juan Soto, but I lamented the fact that they basically gave up a lot of pitching and they didn't have a lot of pitching to spare. And I felt that the Yankees, if they got off to an even mediocre start, this would kind of doom them because they're not going to have their ace. And let's face it, Gerrit Cole, when healthy, is the best pitcher in the American League. And he showed it last year. And we all killed him. We all killed Cashman last year, and we all killed Boone. I certainly did. And if I killed him, I got to give him credit when credit is due. And you can't ask for a better start than what the Yankees are doing. And as we're recording this, the Yankees are showing a little bit of why the first 10 games of the season, as we're 1/16 of the way through the year, we're seeing that the Yankees are doing some things that make you feel kind of pretty good about how things are going. And when you consider Nestor Cortez has been bad, okay? Clark Schmidt hasn't looked great. And some of the relief pitchers have not looked very good. And Loizaca's on the disabled list as well, or the injured list. All those things in mind. Here are the things that, if we look today, this is kind of a microcosm of it. That the Yankees, so far, the Yankees got into trouble early on. The Blue Jays loaded the bases, and Blue Jays got in a run on a bases-loaded walk. And it looked like any moment the Blue Jays were going to break it open. They didn't. The Yankees got the bases loaded, and they wound up getting a grand slam. That's why this year is different so far. And who did they get the grand slam from? Stanton. Now, up until yesterday, Stanton kind of stunk. Up until a few days ago, Judge was kind of stinking it up. But the Yankees were winning left and right, even with Judge and Stanton stinking. Say that 3 times fast. It's because Soto has been doing great. And by the way, Verdugo, who they brought in from the Red Sox, hasn't exactly been lighting it up either. But they've been getting the big hit when they need it. They've been getting the key hit when they need it. And it's become the Volpe, Cabrera, Soto show. And, Rizzo's gotten a big hit here and there, and Gleyber Torres has a couple of hits, but he's not been lighting it up. They've been getting the hits when they need it. They've been getting the pitching performances when they need it. In other words, the team is playing a little bit over their head. If you looked at the stats and saw that Verdugo has stunk it up until recently, Judge and Stanton haven't been doing piddly poo. Rizzo has been only mediocre. They don't have Garrett Cole. And Cortez has stunk, and some of their pitchers have not been as reliable. You would have assumed this would be a 500 team now. They're currently up 5-1. If they hold on to that, they're going to be 8-2. They're winning games they're not supposed to be winning. And even when things fall apart like they did yesterday, they held on. The Blue Jays had a frantic rally, and they fell a run short. That's kind of been the Yankees' story so far. And one other thing. And you have to give, I said, they're playing a little bit over their head right now, which you give credit to Boone. Clay Holmes has been phenomenal. He hasn't let up a run yet this year. That's kind of what they sort of need out of their bullpen closer. But let's give credit to Cashman, who I killed all last year. And I stand by what I said last year, but the two big moves that he made, Soto so far has been a revelation. And boy, oh boy, you can just see an angry Scott Boras, who everyone says lost his mojo from how this offseason went. He's talk to me about mojo when I put Juan Soto out on the marketplace. But Marcus Stroman has been terrific. Marcus Stroman has given the Yankees exactly what they need so far. So if we killed Cashman last year, let's praise him this year, because with the pitching injuries and everything, hey, let's be fair. Let's be fair. By the way, there has been so many injuries. Shane Bieber's the latest one. How many aces have to go falling down the rabbit hole of awfulness? That, by the way, is the name of my collection of poems, The Rabbit Hole of Awfulness. There's a wonderful article on The Ringer by Ben Lindbergh about the fact that baseball has to figure out what's going on, because pitchers are getting the Tommy John surgery and we're losing aces. Aces are one of the reasons why I love baseball, is because you could have a lousy team, but if you have your ace pitcher going, guess what? You're in control. Think about the year when Felix Hernandez won the Cy Young Award. The Mariners were horrific. And yet every time Felix Hernandez took the mound, you had to give the Mariners the leg up on that. But there's a chart here about Tommy John surgeries. And in 2010, we had 103. And 13 years later, there were 263. Now, there was a huge spike in Tommy John surgeries after the 2021 season. That was the year after COVID. But it's been on the rise, steadily since 2010. And to me, that this is a horrible sign. This is one reason why people are shying away from signing aces big time. Now, Jeff Cohen, who's an everyday Sully, just posted a comment saying maybe don't throw max effort all the time. One of the things, you're right, and one of the things the article pointed out, that your elbow is not designed to be throwing a ball at 100 miles an hour. And unlike other parts of our body, you can't build up the strength in your elbow in the same way you can in your arms, chest, and other places. Now, pitchers are just as strong. All athletes are stronger than they've ever been. There's more talent than we've ever seen. This is not about, in my day, they were better. No. But maybe there was something smarter. Remember the famous line that it was Norm Sherry said to Sandy Koufax early in his career: you don't have to throw as hard all the time. You learn how to pitch. Seaver and Clemens talked about learning how to pitch, not just blowing people away. And essentially, everyone is just enamored with one thing: velocity. Velocity, velocity, velocity. You're seeing people throwing sliders and changeups in the 90s. I thought the whole idea of a changeup is that it looked like it was a fastball, but it wasn't. But the fact of the matter is, if we're throwing all that and doing it to our arms that are not designed to do that, no matter how careful you treat a pitcher, you can't possibly treat a pitcher with bigger kid gloves than what Matt Harvey had or what Steven Strasburg had. And they both got injured. Maybe we should not always be sending our scouts out to look at fastballs and looking at the gun. Sure, if you got someone chucking it up there 104 miles an hour, fantastic. But maybe we should be emphasizing other things. A few weeks ago, I emphasized, why don't we start developing knuckleballers? That messes up people's swings and they seem to pitch forever. The other day was Burt Blyleven's birthday. One of the great pitchers of my lifetime, Hall of Famer, had one of the highest strikeout totals of all time and pitched 200 innings over the 70s, 80s, and 90s in his time with Minnesota and the Pirates and the Indians. And I think he was with the Angels and the Rangers. He bounced around a little bit. Big time pitcher, constant Cy Young contender, was the pitcher who clinched the last Pirates pennant back in 1979, won another World Series for his troubles with Minnesota. And he had the greatest curveball of all time. No one could hit his curveball. Remember Jamie Moyer? I'm not convinced he stopped pitching. And he would pitch. He was a jump ball specialist. He would throw all sorts of stuff. He pitched into I think his early 80s. He may have been 90 when he stopped pitching for Philadelphia and Colorado. And his pitches wouldn't get a speeding ticket. Maybe we should be focused on things other than, wow, that's fast. Because this is not designed for that. We need to have innings eaters because we're starting to see it every year. When these pitchers are only going 5 innings, the bullpens are exhausted by the end of the year. You have to have someone. It's not just they have to throw complete games. You got to go 6, 7 innings with your starting pitcher and have your bullpen throw a couple innings. That's optimum. But we can't do that if every arm is being blown out before taxes are due. We've lost Scherzer. We've lost DeGrom. We've lost Beiber. We've lost Cole. Think of all these people who are out right now. All the star pitchers. So obviously, there's something else that needs to be done. We're losing our stars, which, I don't know, might be kind of important. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Heck, I was wrong about Cashman just last year. Well, let's just talk a little bit about our friends at, it's at GameTime. I'm reading the wrong ad. Sometimes that happens. You got to deal with that. GameTime. If you're going to be looking for the best deals in the best markets for tickets, you do what I did. Just the other day, I decided to go to a game in Anaheim to go to see my Red Sox play the Angels. It wasn't the easiest ticket to get in the world. And I have been in situations where the tickets I got seemed to be, the best situation. Sometimes I'm not sitting in the right place. Sometimes I'm not in the right section. Sometimes I'm not in that sweet spot where I like to sit. And I do have a sweet spot where I like to sit. I like to sit in the upper row, upper deck, a little bit towards the first base line. And sometimes I get to myself, this is not where I thought it would be. And then it's not the right deal. And then there's a lot of added on charges. I go, wait a minute, I thought that was the price, but there's this fee, there's this fee, there's this fee. Guess what? Take all that away when you're using GameTime. GameTime is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the GameTime app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch, with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views of the seats, and their lowest price guarantee. GameTime takes all the guesswork out of buying Major League tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. For a limited time, all users get $20 off of any MLB purchase of $150 or more in the GameTime app. Use the code FIRSTPITCH. Terms apply. That's code FIRSTPITCH for $20 off from March 25th to April 14th only. So get on that. Download the GameTime app today. Last minute tickets. The lowest prices. Do you know what they are? I'll tell you what they are. They're guaranteed. Let me just remind you that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's available on the Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channel app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channel app. So let's just say one quick thing here. Today is the 7th of April. It's the 50th anniversary of Henry Aaron's home run to clinch the all-time home run record. It was one of the great moments in baseball history, and it was one that just showed really the strength of Henry Aaron in so many ways. First of all, I mean this is a mind-boggling thing to me. Um, Henry Aaron finished the 1973 season with 713 home runs. He finished the year one shy of Babe Ruth. And if he had retired, and some people are saying he should retire to honor Babe Ruth, Ruth would have remained the home run king. Um, some other people had other ideas of him not retiring, but he received death threats all that offseason. And that was a whole off season where they knew that people who wanted to kill him knew if they were successful, then Babe Ruth's record would have been preserved. How anyone could think like that is beyond me. How anyone could have persevered through that is beyond me with Henry Aaron. But he was able to do it, came back, gave a gigantic middle finger to all the people who were working against him, tied the record on opening day in Cincinnati, came back to Atlanta off of Downing, hit the home run over the left field wall. By the way, it was Bill Buckner was the outfielder for the Dodgers who tried to leap over the fence to catch it. And the on-deck batter was Dusty Baker. Henry Aaron is, again, one of the more fascinating figures in the history of baseball, one of our great players. And in some ways, he was almost underappreciated. He was obviously was a superstar in his own time, but he was during the buildup to breaking the record. It seemed like more people thought Willie Mays was going to be the all-time home run king and not Aaron. And for a period of time, Mays was ahead of Aaron in the all-time home run total. The Braves played in Milwaukee, which was a much better home run hitters park than Candlestick Park was. And then they moved to Atlanta, which was a much better home run park. But two things that will always blow my mind away about Henry Aaron: that he hit 755 home runs over his time with the Milwaukee Braves between 54 and 65, the Atlanta Braves between 66 and 74, and then finishing his career with 2 years as a DH as a member of the Milwaukee Brewers in 75 and 76. That means that's 23 years he played. By the way, he is still the all-time run batted in champion. His number there is 2,297. No one's passed that yet. His career batting average was 305. So he was a 305 hitter. Twice he was the batting champion. Okay. And he stole 20 bases several times. He stole 30 bases in 1963. So he was a threat on the base path as well. But let's think about that. Over 23 years, he hit 755 home runs, which means he averaged, an average season for him was 37 homers. Here's what blows me away about that. He never hit 50. He never hit 50. In fact, his career high was 47 in 1971. His career high was 47, which means, think about what that means. He averaged 37 home runs every single year and never had that 1 year where he hit 50 or 60. Ruth had his 60 home run years. Barry Bonds had his 70-something home run year and a bunch of other ones like that. He never got to 48. Aaron never got to 48. Brady Anderson had a 50 home run season. Henry Aaron did not. What means is year in and year out, he just was consistent, which to me is mind-boggling. But here's my favorite Henry Aaron fact of all time. Let's just say his career played out the same way, except for those 755 home runs. Let's say every single one of his 755 home runs were caught at the warning track, and all of his other hits were the same. But he finished with 0 home runs for his career. Do you know what? he'd still be in the Hall of Fame. Do you know why? Because he finished his career with 3,771 hits. That's right. He would, if you took out all of his homers, he would still be a 3,000 hit hitter, which is cha-ching, punch card to the Hall of Fame. Do you know what he also was? He was the last Negro League player to play in the major leagues. Actually, I have to do a caveat to that. Someone pointed out that Minnie Minoso came back in the 80s and played in a handful of games with the White Sox. So technically, Minnie Minoso is, but he had been retired, and that came back as a bit of a Bill Veeck stunt. He got a hit, so Minnie Minoso technically is. But Henry Aaron was the last regular player to be a link back to the Negro Leagues to make us think, wait a second, the talent that played in the Negro Leagues, could it have made it in the majors? Well, we know Henry Aaron was one of the ones who were there. So when you look at a Turkey Stearns or a Bajum Wilson or a Cool Papa Bell or an Oscar Charleston or a Judy Johnson or Ray Dandridge, and you wonder, could they have made it? Well, they play in the same league that produced Henry Aaron. So obviously they had a pretty high level of talent, which brings us to our current trivia question. Barry Bonds is the home run king. Whether you like it or not, that's fact. Barry Bonds passed Henry Aaron. Henry Aaron passed Babe Ruth. The trivia question is this: who did Babe Ruth pass? Who was the home run champion that Babe Ruth passed to become the all-time home run king? Put it right down here in the comments at YouTube or Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter and Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Saying goodbye to the Otani story and hopefully hello to healthy pitchers. This has been Locked On MLB. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.
You are locked.
Wrong button. Doing it live. Doing it live. I hit the wrong button and I'm doing it live. I'm going to do this till it fades out.